Let's go!
Big news, because we're going to be streaming a metric ton of this event. EVO recently put out a bunch of information regarding its registration for 2023. It has set registration records. This is pretty much going to be the biggest EVO ever, which is amazing news. To see that like several games in here that are even returning games are getting ridiculous entry. Melty Blood has more people competing in it at EVO than ever before. Guilty Gear Strive, a franchise peak for Guilty Gear. So to think, it felt Guilty Gear Strive was bigger than ever last year, and now it's even bigger at EVO. We don't need to talk about MK11. We don't. It'll probably be great and interesting, but that just goes to show that most NRS games just do this, bro. Like, people are trying to use this as like a rag on MK11 specifically, and I won't do that. But I will tell you, historically, NRS games do fizzle out within a year to 2 years. They always do. Whether or not they're designed to be played like heavily competitively for a long period of time or really like engage early on, I don't know. But it is absolutely a trend with Injustice. MK9 was kind of hard to say because it was like the first one, and a lot of people stuck with MK9 after Injustice 1 came out. But Injustice 1 to MKX to Injustice 2 to Mortal Kombat 11. Like all these games like pretty much drop out in the first year or two. There was a new game, so who gives a shit, right? New game. Wipe my ass of this previous game. There's something about it that I don't like. I can just turn right over and get another game. Although, you know, I'll still argue the most interesting game to watch at mid-level to high level of all of them is, you know, MKX. But I'm glad MK11 Ultimate's here, and I'm glad it's getting plenty of entrants. Dragon Ball FighterZ sees an increase in registrations from last year, which is interesting because it feels like everybody stopped playing this fucking game. Dragon Ball's funny because everyone kind of was done after the netcode announcement because we were all waiting for the netcode announcement. It's going to be very bizarre that we're going to get another EVO a year after the netcode announcement for another netcode announcement. That is about to be fucking crazy to me, man. Crazy to me that I was thinking that in October we might be playing rollback Dragon Ball FighterZ. Oh man, we're in an interesting situation with that game. It's cool that it's getting more players. That game is definitely the most interesting it's probably been as of right now because they're still going through balance patches, and there is another balance patch on the horizon too. Tekken 7 being up here is no surprise. Of course. Did they say anything about Tekken 7 specifically? T7, which sees an increase of 360 entrants compared to last year's 1218. Wow, that's crazy. T7 is still doing so good with so much Tekken 8 on the horizon, you know? I hope we're going to see more Tekken 8 stuff at EVO. And I don't mean just characters and stuff. I hope we get to see like actual gameplay. Well, you know what? I'm going to shut the hell up because we're about to see a shit ton of that this weekend. We're about to get our CBT on this weekend with some Tekken 8. So we're going to see a lot of that game played in a variety of high level of what people do with Tekken 7 knowledge and Tekken 8 combos and Tekken 8 neutral and how that's going to work. The biggest news of all of this, by the way, congrats to KOF making a deal with the devil. I'm going to say you and Tim Curry came up with some good shit. Congratulations to the King of Fighters 15. Hitting that number. The news of the century. Of the fucking century. An old dead piece of shit game for piece of shit people, right? That's what I like. I like old dead games for piece of shit games for piece of shit people. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is back. And it has officially been announced as the biggest Marvel vs. Capcom tournament in human history, and also the biggest Marvel vs. Capcom 3 tournament. So there's more people here to play Ultimate Marvel 3 than ever before. Old piece of shit game for piece of shit people, and we're sitting here in a room with a whole bunch of other pieces of shit loving our old dead shit. I'm gonna cash in my check, by the way, for these old dead games. That's an old dead game that's over 10 years old, you know, and we've been standing for however long. If anybody doesn't know, if you stand an old dead game for like 10 plus years, the developers of those games just come to you and give you $1 million, like straight up. They're just like, here you go, man. Here's $10 million. You know what? Here's $1 billion. For an old dead game that nobody buys or plays anymore, here's $10 billion. So we did it. We're here. We're sitting in the golden heavens that is Marvel vs. Capcom fandom. We did it, man. The fact that this has turned into the technical biggest MVC3 tournament just means that people didn't stop, bro. I never stopped making videos, regardless if the game was total shit, even in MVCI form. I never stopped playing the old games. Never, always had reasons to go back and play UMVC3, especially with the Parsec era that launched in like 2020. Tong and Tampa Never Sleeps and those guys and Kevin Ha on the West Coast just kept that shit alive the entire time. And people always felt at the bottom of their hearts, regardless of all these new games coming out, and they'll be like, for real, bro, Marvel, but Marvel's the best, right? For real, bro, but like the best game is actually Marvel 3. And yeah, like UMVC 3 was my second favorite game of last decade, of our game of the decade, only eclipsed by Killer Instinct, simply because Killer Instinct had way better online functionality at the time. That really helped, well, like bringing fighting games into the modern era. But yeah, y'all, Ultimate Marvel 3 was number 2 and close, because this game is absolutely something special. It's busted, it's funky, it's crazy. People are still finding shit in it till this day, and the best part about it is that it is actually evolving. And I've told people this time and time again, and I feel like I have to remind you at this point again that the future of this franchise, regardless of this insanely high community involvement, I have to remind you that if you want to see the future of Marvel 3, it is currently in the hands of modders and fans. Fans have been making adjustments and additions to Ultimate Marvel 3 for nearly half a decade now, and their new character contributions to the game are fucking insane. And a lot of that stuff that is around is going to be the future of Marvel vs. Capcom. Yeah, I'm glad that there are fans passionate enough to keep Marvel vs. Capcom going in some way. So, and it's great to see that evolve. Do I think there is any iota of hope in the universe that 1,300 entrants and the eventual huge viewership that a Finals Day Sunday Ultimate Marvel 3 will bring to the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise? I have something to tell you, and it's exclamation point Marvel 4. And that exclamation point, for anybody that has not ever seen it, says specifically, you have about 14,605 chance for another Marvel vs. Capcom game. It's not impossible. It's just, I would go buy lottery tickets. I would start buying lottery tickets or seeing how frequently you're going to get struck by lightning. So that's the best thing about fighting games, man. These games have literally no money behind them. They're entirely community funded. And to see it finally getting thrown onto the main stage after like a decade is fucking beautiful. It's literally what the FGC is all about. So congratulations. I think the story of this entire thing, dude, I didn't even talk about Street Fighter 6. Jesus. To me, like, Street Fighter 6, yeah, sure. Of course, it's got 7,000 people. Yeah, sure, whatever. To me, Ultimate Marvel 3 is the big talking point of these EVO numbers. So I'm like, yeah, of course, Street Fighter. Oh, we don't need to talk about that shit, dude. Everyone fucking loves it. The finals are going to be insane. It's going to be crazy to see people from all over the world competing against each other and not just, you know, regional stuff. I'm very curious to see how wild that's going to be. Of course, everybody, of fucking course, it's Street Fighter 6, man. Of course it is. It's going to be fine. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. But this is a celebration of Marvel now. and if you're going to get me to put an old Dead game at the forefront, you know, right in the slap dab in the front of all these new modern fighting games, I'm like, hey, look at this old Dead thing. Like, check this shit out.